Blood never truly dries on Italian marble. Damien Voss learned this the hard way. Not from a bullet fired by a rival family, but from the trembling hands of a quiet maid, who had no business being inside his private sanctuary. The Voss estate sat like a black diamond on the cliffs overlooking the Hudson River, a fortress disguised as old money elegance. 28 rooms, bulletproof glass, and enough security to protect a small nation. To the outside world, Damien Voss was a legitimate billionaire real estate developer. To those who mattered in the underworld, he was the cold-blooded underboss of the Voss Syndicate, the man who had turned the family's empire from street-level enforcement into a multi-billion-dollar machine of power, fear, and silence. In this world of calculated violence and million-dollar deals, no one expected the greatest threat to come from a woman holding a feather duster. Liora Kane was 25, with sharp hazel eyes that noticed everything and revealed nothing. She moved through the Voss mansion like a shadow, efficient, invisible, and always on time. The staff whispered that she was too graceful for a maid, too educated, too watchful, but no one asked questions, not when the pay was triple the usual rate and the NDA was thicker than the bulletproof windows. For 3 months, she had cleaned, polished, and kept her head down. For 3 months, she had survived. Until tonight. The private study on the 3rd floor was strictly off-limits to all staff except the head housekeeper. But tonight, the head housekeeper was sick, and the order had come directly from Damien himself. Every surface had to be immaculate before his return from the docks. Liora entered the dimly lit room, carrying her cleaning cart. The air smelled of aged leather, gun oil, and expensive Cuban cigars. Her eyes immediately fell on the centerpiece of the room. A massive, antique Ming Dynasty vase, nearly 4 feet tall, displayed on a custom black marble pedestal. It was Damien Voss's most prized possession, a gift from a dead ally in Hong Kong, said to be worth over $2 million. She worked carefully, dusting the bookshelves first, then the heavy oak desk. Her hand was steady until her sleeve caught the edge of a crystal ashtray. In one horrifying second, the ashtray tipped, rolled off the desk, and slammed into the pedestal. The sound of the vase shattering was deafening. Porcelain exploded across the marble floor like a gunshot. Liora froze, heart hammering against her ribs. For a moment, the entire world went silent, except for the echo of breaking history. Then the heavy double doors burst open. Damien Voss stood in the doorway, still wearing his tailored black Tom Ford suit, his dark hair slightly disheveled from the wind outside. At 29 years old, he was tall, broad-shouldered, and radiated the kind of dangerous authority that made grown men lower their eyes. A thin scar ran through his left eyebrow, a souvenir from the night he took control of the family. His steel-gray eyes dropped to the destruction on the floor. The silence that followed was worse than any shouting. "You have exactly 10 seconds, Damien said, his voice low and lethal, "to explain why I shouldn't put a bullet in your skull right now." Liora's throat went dry, but she forced herself to meet his gaze. "It was an accident, Mr. Voss." The ashtray slipped and... An accident. He stepped forward, glass crunching beneath his Italian leather shoes. "That vase survived 3 centuries, 2 wars, and a dozen assassination attempts. And you destroyed it in under 3 months." He moved closer, until he towered over her. The scent of his cologne, mixed with the faint trace of gunpowder, clinging to his jacket. "Do you have any idea what you've done, little maid?" Liora's hands trembled at her sides, but her voice remained steady. "I take full responsibility. I'll work to repay the damage, even if it takes my entire life." Damien let out a dark, humorless laugh. "Repay it? That vase wasn't just valuable, sweetheart. It was irreplaceable." His eyes narrowed. "Unless there's something you're not telling me." He crouched down, picking up one of the larger shards. Something small and metallic glinted inside the broken base of the vase. Something that definitely wasn't part of 400-year-old porcelain. Damien's expression shifted from rage to something far more dangerous. curiosity. He slowly rose to his full height, the shard still in his hand, and looked at Liora like he was seeing her for the very first time. "On your knees," he commanded softly. Liora didn't move. Damien's lips curved into a cold, predatory smile. "You have two choices tonight. Either you get on your knees and beg for mercy, or you come with me right now and show me exactly who the hell you really are." He leaned in, his breath brushing her ear. "Because no ordinary maid breaks a $2 million vase and looks at me like she'd shot, ready to fight back." Damien Voss didn't wait for her answer. He simply turned and walked out of the study, leaving the shattered remains of the vase behind, like a crime scene. Two of his armed guards appeared instantly in the hallway, their hands resting near their holstered weapons. "Bring her," he ordered without looking back. Liora felt a strong hand grip her upper arm. She didn't resist. She had learned long ago that resistance in the wrong moment only made things worse. They led her down the grand staircase, through several corridors, and into a part of the estate she had never been allowed to enter, Damien's private underground training room. The space was vast and brutal. Black padded floors, heavy punching bags hanging from steel beams, weapon racks, and a full-sized boxing ring in the center. Dim lighting and the faint smell of sweat and leather filled the air. This wasn't a rich man's gym. This was where the Voss underboss prepared for war. Damien removed his suit jacket and rolled up the sleeves of his crisp white shirt, revealing powerful forearms marked with old scars and dark ink. He turned to face her, arms crossed over his broad chest. "Most maids would already be crying," he said, his voice echoing slightly in the large room. "Yet here you stand, back straight, eyes clear, almost like you've been trained to face worse than me." Liora remained silent, her hazel eyes locked on his. Damien stepped closer. "Who are you really, Liora Kane? Because the background check we ran on you was too clean, too perfect. People with nothing to hide don't move like you do." He circled her slowly, like a predator studying prey. "You broke my most valuable possession. That vase belonged to my grandfather. It survived everything, until you." His voice dropped dangerously low. "But something was hidden inside it. Something only a handful of people in this world knew about. And now it's lying on my floor because of your clumsiness." Liora's pulse quickened, but she kept her face neutral. Damien stopped directly in front of her. "I should kill you for this." Slowly. "But I'm feeling generous tonight." A dark smirk touched his lips. "So here's my offer. We settle this like people in my world settle debts. In the ring, 3 rounds. No weapons, just you and me." Liora's eyebrows rose slightly. "You want to fight a maid? I want to break the lie you're hiding behind," he replied. "If you survive 3 rounds without begging for mercy, I'll let you walk away with your life. I might even let you pay off the vase in installments over the next 10 years. He leaned in, his steel-gray eyes burning with intensity. "But if I win, you belong to me, completely. You will tell me every secret you're hiding. You will work for me directly, and you will never leave this estate again, unless I allow it." The air between them grew thick with tension. Liora looked at the ring, then back at the most dangerous man in New York's underworld. For a long moment, the only sound was the distant hum of the ventilation system. Then she spoke, her voice calm, but edged with steel. "Fine, but I have one condition." Damien's smirk widened, clearly amused. "You're in no position to negotiate. Gloves," she said, 16 ounce, "and no hitting below the belt. I may be your maid, Mr. Renshin, but I won't let you treat me like an animal in a slaughterhouse." For the first time that night, genuine surprise flashed across Damien's face. Then it turned into something darker, intrigue mixed with hunger. He let out a low chuckle. "You just keep getting more interesting." He gestured toward the equipment room. "Choose your gloves, little liar. The clock starts in 10 minutes. As Liora walked toward the gloves rack, Damien watched her every movement, the way she carried herself, the way her eyes scanned the room for exits, the way her hands, though small, looked far too steady for someone who had just destroyed fortune. He cracked his knuckles, a dangerous smile playing on his lips. "Whatever you're hiding, Liora Kane," he whispered to himself, "I'm going to enjoy ripping it out of you." The underground training room felt colder now, heavier with anticipation. Damien's men had cleared the space and formed a loose circle around the boxing ring. No one spoke. They had seen their boss destroy men twice Liora's size without breaking a sweat. This was not going to be a fight. It was going to be an execution. Liora stood in the corner, wrapping her hands with practiced precision. White athletic tape went around her wrists, between her fingers, and across her knuckles in tight, professional layers. She had chosen a pair of worn black 16-ounce gloves. They fit her smaller hands perfectly, as if they weren't borrowed but remembered. Damien watched her from the opposite corner, shirtless now, his powerful torso covered in tattoos that told stories of violence and survival. A large Voss family crest covered his back, while scars from knives and bullets marked his ribs and shoulders. He rolled his neck, muscles flexing under the harsh lights. One of his senior enforcers, Marcus, stepped between the ropes acting as referee. 3 3-minute rounds, Marcus announced. No elbows, no knees, no hitting below the belt. Boss's rules. He glanced at Liora with pity. "Try not to die too quickly, girl." Damien bounced lightly on his feet, shadowboxing with sharp, brutal combinations. Each punch cut through the air with audible force. He was a street fighter, raised in the Mafia. Heavy hands, explosive power, and zero mercy. Liora, by contrast, stood almost unnaturally still. Her breathing was controlled. Her hazel eyes were focused, but not on Damien's face. They were studying his shoulders, his hips, the way he planted his lead foot. The tension in the room was electric. Several of Damien's men had placed quiet bets. None of them were betting on her. Marcus raised his hand. "Fight starts on my signal." Damien smirked, cracking his neck one last time. "Last chance to beg, little maid. Get on your knees now and I might go easy on you." Liora slid her mouthguard in, biting down once. Her voice came out slightly muffled but clear enough. "I don't kneel to men who hide behind their money and their guns." Damien, eyes flashed with dark amusement, and something sharper, anger mixed with raw intrigue. Marcus dropped his hand. "Fight." The bell rang. Damien exploded forward instantly, a predator unleashed. He threw a heavy right cross, meant to end the fight in a single blow. The punch was fast, powerful, and precise. It hit nothing but air. Liora had slipped outside his range with fluid grace, circling to his left. Before he could reset, she snapped 2 quick jabs into his jaw, sharp, stinging shots that snapped his head back. The sound of leather on skin echoed in the silent room. Damien stopped, touching his jaw in genuine surprise. A thin trickle of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. His men stared in stunned silence. For the first time in years, someone had made Damien Voss bleed in his own ring. He smiled. A slow, dangerous smile that promised pain. "Oh, you just made this personal." Damien Voss came at her like a storm. He threw a devastating combination. Left hook, right cross, uppercut. Each punch carried enough power to shatter bone. Liora moved like water. She slipped, pivoted, and deflected with precise glove work, never staying in one place long enough for him to land cleanly. The sound of their gloves cracking against each other filled the underground room. Smack, smack, smack. Damien growled in frustration. "Stand still and fight me properly." Instead of retreating, Liora stepped inside his reach. A dangerous, calculated move. As Damien threw a heavy overhand right, she ducked under it, drove her shoulder into his chest, and unleashed a powerful left hook into his ribs. The impact echoed, like a hammer striking meat. Damien staggered back, eyes widening in shock. That single body shot had real power behind it. Professional power. He touched his ribs, breathing harder now. "You're no maid." Liora didn't answer. She changed her stance, dropping her hand slightly, inviting him in. The fear was gone from her eyes. What remained was cold focus. Round 1 belonged to her. The bell rang. Damien returned to his corner, chest heaving, a bruise already forming on his ribs. His men were deathly silent. Marcus handed him water, but Damien knocked it away. In the opposite corner, Liora stood calm. She wasn't even sweating heavily. She was studying him, learning his timing, his tells, the way he dropped his left hand when he got angry. Damien's expression had changed. The arrogance was still there, but now it was mixed with burning curiosity and respect. Round 2 began. This time, Damien was more careful. He used his reach advantage, circling, throwing probing jabs. Liora answered with crisp counters, popping his head back repeatedly. Every time he tried to close the distance, she made him pay with sharp combinations to the body. Then came the moment that changed everything. Damien fainted high and went for a powerful takedown attempt, trying to use his size and strength. Liora sprawled perfectly, stuffed the attempt, and in one fluid motion, spun behind him. She locked in a tight rear waist clinch and drove a knee into his side. Not illegal, but brutally effective. Damien roared and broke free, but the damage was done. As they separated, Liora spoke for the first time during the fight, her voice low and steady. That vase wasn't just a family heirloom, was it? Damien froze mid-motion. Liora continued, circling him. There was a key hidden inside the base, a titanium key with an encrypted serial number. You were planning to use it tomorrow night, weren't you? Damien's eyes darkened dangerously. How the hell do you know that? Because I put it there 3 weeks ago, Liora said calmly. The entire room went dead silent. She continued, You think you're the only one playing a long game, Mr. Voss? I've been inside your walls for 3 months, watching, waiting. The Clumsy Maid act was useful, until you forced my hand tonight. Damien laughed. A low, furious sound. You've got some fucking nerve. He charged forward with renewed fury. This time there was no holding back. His punches became heavier, faster, more desperate. Liora gave ground but refused to break. She blocked, slipped, and countered with surgical precision. In the final 30 seconds of round 2, she saw her opening. As Damien overcommitted on a wild right hook, Liora stepped in, rotated her hips, and delivered a perfect liver shot with her left hand. The sound was sickening. Damien's body folded instantly. His legs buckled. The undefeated underboss dropped to one knee, gasping for air that wouldn't come, clutching his side in pure agony. Liora stepped back, breathing controlled, and removed her mouthguard. I could end this right now, she said quietly, but I won't. The bell rang, ending round 2. Damien slowly forced himself back to his feet, using the ropes. Sweat and blood ran down his face. For the first time in his life, he looked at a woman with something close to awe and dangerous obsession. He wiped blood from his lip and stared at her across the ring. Who the hell are you, Liora Kane? She met his gaze without flinching. Someone who's been hunting the same people you are, and that key you lost tonight. It opens the vault where they keep the evidence that can destroy both our enemies. She dropped her gloves. The real question, Mr. Voss, is whether you're going to keep fighting me, or work with me. The underground gym was deathly quiet. Damien Voss stood in the center of the ring, still clutching his bruised ribs, staring at the woman who had just dismantled him in front of his own men. Liora Kane removed her gloves slowly, her hazel eyes never leaving his. There was no gloating, no triumph, only cold, calculated patience. Marcus and the other enforcers looked completely lost. Their boss, the man who had crushed rival captains and survived multiple assassination attempts, had been humbled by his own maid. Damien straightened up with visible effort, wincing. Everyone out, he growled. The men hesitated for a split second before filing out silently. The heavy steel door sealed behind them with a loud clang, leaving only the two of them in the massive training room. Damien stepped down from the ring and walked toward her. His movements were slower now, more measured. The predator had been replaced by something far more dangerous. A calculating mind that had just found a new obsession. Talk, he ordered, voice low, and don't leave anything out. Liora picked up a towel and wiped her face. My real name is Liora Voss. No relation to you. Kane is my mother's surname. I changed it when I came here. She leaned against the ring post. 3 years ago, the Antonov Brotherhood killed my father. He wasn't just any man. He was your father's old accountant, the one who knew where all the real money was hidden. The Antonovs tortured him for the codes, then made it look like a heart attack. They thought they got everything. Her voice grew colder. They didn't. My father had a contingency plan. He hid the master key inside the one object he knew no one would dare touch. The Ming Voss your grandfather gave to your family as a peace offering 20 years ago. Damien's eyes narrowed. You've been playing me this entire time. Yes, Liora admitted without hesitation. I spent months getting hired here. I studied every camera angle, every guard shift, every one of your routines. I waited for the perfect moment to retrieve that key. Breaking the vase tonight wasn't part of the plan, but you forced my hand when you returned early. Damien stepped closer, invading her personal space. Even injured, he was an intimidating presence. And what was your endgame? Steal from me and disappear? I was going to use the key to access the Antonov vault in Geneva, she said. Inside is enough evidence to wipe out their entire leadership. Financial records, human trafficking routes, even the names of the dirty politicians protecting them. I planned to burn them to the ground. She looked up at him, unflinching. Alone, Damien studied her face for a long moment. The anger in his eyes slowly transformed into something deeper, darker, respect, fascination, and a possessive hunger that hadn't been there before. You could have come to me, he said, voice rough. Would you have listened to a maid? Liora countered. Or would you have put a bullet in my head the moment I mentioned your precious Vase? Damien didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached out and tilted her chin up with 2 fingers, forcing her to meet his intense gaze. You're dangerous, he murmured. More dangerous than half the men who work for me. You lied to me. You destroyed something irreplaceable. You made me bleed in my own house. His thumb brushed her lower lip. And yet, I've never wanted someone more in my entire life. The air between them crackled with raw tension. Liora's breathing hitched slightly, but she held her ground. This isn't about want, Mr. Voss. This is about survival. The Antonovs are planning a major move against your family in 6 days. That key gives you, the advantage. Damien's hand moved to the back of her neck, pulling her closer. Us, he repeated, tasting the word. There is no more you and me anymore, Liora. You belong here now. With me. He leaned down until their faces were inches apart. You will help me destroy the Antonovs, and in return, I'll give you the revenge you've been craving. But you play by my rules. You sleep under my roof. You answer only to me. Liora searched his eyes. And if I refuse? A dark, possessive smile curved his lips. Then I'll lock you in the most beautiful cage this city has ever seen. Either way, you're mine now. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken desires and dangerous possibilities. For the first time since she stepped foot in the Voss estate, Liora Kane felt the ground truly shift beneath her feet. The heavy steel door of the training room suddenly hissed open. Damien's hand was still on the back of Liora's neck when Marcus stepped inside, followed by 3 armed men. Something felt wrong immediately. Their movements were too tense, their eyes too cold. Boss, Marcus said, voice tight. We have a situation upstairs. Damien didn't release Liora. Handle it. I don't think I can, sir. Marcus raised his gun, not toward an enemy, but directly at Damien's chest. This situation requires your full cooperation. The betrayal landed like a gunshot. Damien's body went rigid. Marcus, you stupid bastard. Liora moved first. She shoved Damien sideways with surprising strength, just as Marcus fired. The suppressed shot thudded into the padded wall, where Damien had been standing. Chaos erupted. 2 of the traitors opened fire. Damien grabbed Liora and dove behind a row of heavy punching bags. Bullets ripped through leather and sand, exploding into the air around them. You've been working with the Antonovs, Damien snarled, drawing a concealed pistol from his ankle holster. He returned fire with deadly accuracy, dropping 1 traitor instantly. Since last year, Marcus shouted from cover. They offered me more than you ever did, and they want the girl alive. She knows too much. Leora's eyes hardened. She snatched a fallen gun from one of the dead men and checked the magazine with professional speed. 3 more coming through the side entrance, she warned, her voice ice-cold. Damien glanced at her, a feral grin breaking through the pain in his ribs. You fight like this and clean my floors? What the hell else have you been hiding? Later, she snapped. They moved together, like they had trained for years. Instinctive, brutal coordination. Liora provided covering fire, while Damien advanced, using his knowledge of the room's blind spots. He took down another traitor, with 2 precise shots to the chest. Marcus screamed in rage, and charged forward with the last remaining man. Liora reacted instantly. She vaulted over a weight bench, closed the distance in 3 strides, and delivered a devastating spinning elbow that shattered the second traitor's jaw. As he fell, she stripped his weapon and tossed a fresh magazine to Damien without even looking. Marcus turned his gun on her. Time seemed to slow. Damien roared and tackled Marcus from the side. The 2 powerful men crashed into the boxing ring, trading vicious blows. Even injured, Damien was a monster in close quarters. He slammed Marcus's head against the canvas twice before pressing his pistol under the traitor's chin. You sold out my family, Damien hissed, blood dripping from his split lip. For what? Marcus laughed weakly, blood bubbling from his mouth. The Antonovs are coming for everything. They already have people inside your docks. The girl, she was just the key. They want her alive to finish what her father started. Damien's finger tightened on the trigger. Wait, Liora called out. She walked over, breathing hard, her maid uniform torn and stained with sweat and blood. He might still be useful. We need to know their exact timeline. Damien stared at her for a long second, then nodded. He knocked Marcus unconscious with the butt of his pistol and rose to his feet. The underground room was now a war zone. Bullet holes everywhere, blood on the mats, the smell of gunpowder thick in the air. Damien turned to Liora. His steel-grey eyes burned with a mixture of fury, pain, and something far more intense. You saved my life tonight, he said, voice rough. Twice. Liora wiped blood from her cheek. Don't get sentimental, Voss. We still have the Antonovs to deal with. And now they know I'm here. Damien stepped closer, towering over her. He cupped her face with one blood-stained hand, his thumb tracing her jaw. No more games, Liora. No more secrets. From now on, you stand beside me, not as my maid, as my partner in this war. He leaned down, his forehead resting against hers, their breathing mingling in the charged silence. But know this, he whispered darkly. Once this war is over, I'm never letting you go. The distant sound of alarms began wailing throughout the estate. The real fight had only just begun. The alarms echoed through the Voss estate, like a war cry. Damien Voss stood in the middle of the destroyed training room, blood on his hands, ribs bruised, yet more alive than he had felt in years. Beside him stood Liora Kane, no longer the quiet maid, but a warrior who had just proven herself more dangerous than most of his captains. He looked down at the unconscious Marcus, then at the woman who had shattered his most prized possession and quite possibly saved his life. You could have run, he said quietly. When the shooting started, you didn't. Liora met his steel-grey eyes without hesitation. Running was never the plan. I came here for revenge. The Antonovs took everything from me. Tonight proved I can't do it alone. Damien stepped closer. The tension between them had transformed. No longer just predator and prey, but 2 predators recognizing their equal. He extended his blood-stained hand. Then we finish this together, as partners. The Voss Syndicate has never had a woman at its side. Until now. Liora looked at his offered hand for a long moment. Then she took it. Her grip was firm, unyielding. Partners, she agreed. But I'm not your property, Damien. I fight with you, not for you. A dark, possessive smile curved his lips. We'll negotiate those terms later. He pulled her closer, his other hand sliding to her waist. For a brief second, the chaos of the world outside faded. The pull between them, born in violence and sharpened by secrets, crackled like electricity. "I still owe you for that vase," he murmured, lips brushing near her ear. Liora's breath hitched. "Consider it payment for the liver shot." Damien let out a low, rough laugh. The first real one she had ever heard from him. Outside, the sound of running boots and shouted orders grew louder. His loyal men were converging. The real war against the Antonov Brotherhood was about to begin. Damien released her slowly, but not completely. His fingers lingered on her waist as he looked into her eyes with dark promise. 6 days, Liora. We have 6 days before they strike. We use that key. We burn their empire to the ground. And when it's over, he leaned in, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. I'm going to make you mine, in every way that matters. Liora didn't pull away. Instead, a small, dangerous smile touched her own lips. Only if I don't claim you first. The heavy doors burst open as Damien's remaining trusted enforcers poured in. The sight of their boss, standing side by side with the maid, both covered in blood, both armed, left them stunned. Damien didn't explain. He simply gave his orders. Clean this up, double the security, and get me everything we have on the Antonovs. He glanced at Liora, who now stood tall beside him, no longer hidden in the shadows. Welcome to the real Voss Syndicate, he said, as the alarms continued to blare, and the first lights of dawn touched the Hudson River outside. One thing was crystal clear. The Clumsy Maid who shattered the Vase had not only survived the most dangerous man in New York, she had claimed a place at his side. But with the Antonov Brotherhood now coming for both of them, their new alliance would be tested in blood and fire. Would their fragile partnership survive the coming war? Or would the secrets still hidden between them destroy everything?